Peace, fam. Dr. She in the house. You're not going to be able to help yourself with autoimmune diseases and these sicknesses that you have that you cannot detect the origin of until you clean up your environment. Part of cleaning up your environment is removing toxicity. Your toxicity is in your soap, your toxicity is in your lotion, your toxicity is in your hair care. The stuff that comes off the shelf is usually laden with chemicals and toxins and fake perfumes. Go to 25000yearcycle.org, get yourself some proper soap. We have 3 different types, and some proper skin care, Seal Care, which is one of the best skin care products you're going to get in existence right now. 25000yearcycle.org. Dr. She out. Link in bio. Peace.
Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali. This is going to be a longer share, I'm predicting, because of the amount of information I have to put in here, but it's necessary. And so I'm going to be discussing a particular social media personality who has quite a footstep. He has, like, each day he gets more than 100 new subscribers on his Telegram page. When it comes to Matt, what's his name, Roski or something, he ain't good. Here's the thing, it's complicated. I would assess that he's the same old style snake oil salesman, where one of the reasons why the whole excuse that many of us will give for the scamsters out here, and there's a plenty of them, is we'll say, well, he says a lot of really good stuff. That is part of the snake oil salesman scheme. He's got to say good stuff. He's got to be able to appeal to his audience with the little bits that they know, so that he can rope them in. Now, when it comes to white people, all people across the planet, you're always going to find smooth criminals. I'm not accusing Matt of being an out and out criminal, but I am going to point out, what I'm going to share that he's trying to normalize is not actually against the law, but he knows to keep it on Telegram. And Telegram is a platform I'm really grateful for. Goodness gracious, we need some place where you just have to be a grown-up. You have to know who you're dealing with. You have to be able to do that research so that you are an informed peruser of that site. We need a place where, yes, freedom of speech is going to be defended and protected, and it's not like all these other sites where you can't say any truth. On Instagram, at this point in time, the different hashtags that I used to be able to just put my little memes out to, they don't even let me do that anymore. Like hashtag the radical sister. It never, any new thing I put, and I'm the one who started the hashtag the radical sister. It just won't even attach any of my new memes to it whatsoever. And I expected that Instagram was going to get that way as soon as I showed up there. And because it's about hiding the radiation. Now, that said, I'm grateful for Telegram. Please don't let them destroy that one venue. But in the meantime, I wouldn't have said anything against Matt whatsoever, because his audience is mostly white people. Here on YouTube, he has 70K subscribers, almost 71. And when I go and I look at the comments, it's white people. It's white people. There are very few, thumbnails I see or names I see. And when I look back, that go to Black people. They're right. I'm not mad at white people for wanting to be around other white people. I am just leery of the fact that they are always disagreeable in both times of peace and war, so that we don't have to be doing a daggone thing to them. I don't want to do anything to them whatsoever, but they'll never stop hunting us. And that's what made me talk about Matt, where during one of his Telegram posts, where he was selling the health benefits of radium energy. At no time out of what I watched or listened to him sharing did he promote ingesting radium, which is really good because I'll show you the different ways that that's not, that's an insane, dumb idea altogether. But it's a huge benefit on his part that he doesn't suggest that, even though using anything radioactive for energy is straight up nuclear industry propaganda 100%, because there is no safe utilization of radioactive material. Now, I was almost not even going to speak on the dude, but I kept listening to his broadcast until all of a sudden he had this woman here. And Dr. Shi had shared with me his one of his Telegram broadcasts, where you can see here in the descriptive radium large plants that he was discussing Chernobyl. Chernobyl has been radiologically contaminated, not by naturally occurring radioactive products, or not products, but just elements, but by transuranic. That's after they mill the uranium so that they could separate out the different radioactive components. That's a whole nother level of contamination. It's when you see gigantism, which is a feature of radiological contamination, it's a mutation. It means that the gene that would ordinarily stop excessive growth is broken. And it can lead to not just big giant leaves and other things that you might go, wow, if I ate that, because he goes on to talk about the giants in society, and maybe it was because they ate radium. That's a mutation. It's also going to lead to the excessive growth of tumors. When you see people walking around with the horrifying affliction of huge bulbous things growing all over their bodies, their growth factor has been allowed to just overwhelm their organs and their natural bodily functions. It's not a good thing. And so this dude, what's so tricky about him is he is using that snake oil salesman truth, where he'll talk about, the EMF wave radiation, which comes from radioactive isotopes. When you go through the airport scanners and they're scanning you, that's X-rays, which come from a bit of radiological particle material that's in the scanner itself. It's just what they use in a hospital, only they're using it at the TSA. And so he'll come out and bring in a little bit or a lot of truth that his audience, obviously from having read many of their comments, they're aware of. But like most people, most folks, you got to earn a living. Matt here obviously is desperately trying to earn a living. So when you're of that mindset, his in particular, not necessarily his audience, but you will agree to get your bank from whomever and whatever if you're going to promote radium as, this is an energy source that we have to use, but at the same time, you're going to put down wave energy, which comes from the radiation. So if you are nearby it and you're ingesting it or you're just touching it, you're in a heap of trouble. About that, as I said, I wouldn't have talked about the dude. However, towards the end of his broadcast, suddenly he was doing this thing. Let's see if I could find it. Right at this point, all of a sudden, this little picture, it got superimposed on his face right there. And I was, all praise due to Allah, that I kept listening to this dude when I have such a fierce aversion to fraudsters. I literally, they just make me want to gag and run screaming from the room. But something told me, keep watching. Because I was like, well, okay, he's a thief or he's a snake oil salesman. I don't really feel like I need to talk about that. But when this came up and then he went on, like showcase his eyeballs up in there, he's like jumping up and down. He's like, oh, what's going on? And with this guy, he has a look of just, he has a dead eye. And that's often, like right there, you could actually see right that serious dead eye look right there. Um, that's often a sign of what they will call a psychopath. I'm not saying that's what he is because I don't definitively know him to make some sort of prognosis based on just one video. However, that's just dead eye right there. And so when I saw that little picture there with a sister and one of our, it's a painting, it's not like it's a photograph, but still very attractive. Pearl necklace, very feminine looking, and then his eyes pop up in there. Dr. Swerdlow, or I don't think he was a doctor, but still, he was an admitted victim of from his childhood, MK Ultra programming. These guys, scientists, would literally seed their wives with a baby, and they would use their own baby as part of an experiment to see how they could warp their minds. White people, not us, okay? And so the MK Ultra programming and mind bending, this is something that they've never ever given up. They just will transform it in various methods. But Stuart Swerdlow reported back in the day before they sent a handler to get him to calm down. He reported that white people are highly open to programming. And that is easy to see because their society has all kinds of just little edicts that make no damn sense. Like, don't wear white after Labor Day, or is it, Memorial Day? No, it's Labor Day. And when I was a child, I was like, what? Why? It makes no sense. Maybe there's some historical time context that I don't know about, but still, it makes no sense. And a whole slew of other things, like the magazines that'll tell you everyone's wearing their outfits like this or like that. I once I got to a point where I was like, why am I chasing what they say when these people don't even care about me? And then I said, I have my way that I like to dress, so I'm going to do that and not follow their magazine. Because I realized after reading these fashion magazines, they were all presented in a way that just made you feel awful. Like these models, they don't look like real people. They don't look like me. They don't look like anybody I know. So I haven't bought any of those magazines in, I don't know, like 30 years, maybe probably longer. And so that's one of the ways that you could see they're very easily beguiled into thinking a certain way. So you've got a bunch of easily programmable people who are being fed straight up lies about radium, then being encouraged to go run a train through Black women. And this is like Raymond Levine. He calls himself Rachel, but that's a lie. Getting into the Black community so that he could say, oh no, radium and radiation, it's energy, it's good for you. And there's there's no way I can't mention it. There's a Netflix show that didn't do as good as one would think it would have done, which is Three Body Problem, which is really based on three body paranoia, where when you are the stronger nation in your own mind, you may that part of that whole storyline, which I'm not going to get into, goes over how there's the world, the universe out there is filled with planets with aliens. None of them are nice. And so the whole idea that you're going to let your nice, not as strong as you, strategically, armament wise, technically wise, you're not going to let your nice neighbor just be okay, because what if he becomes just as strong as you one day? Right? Well, what if you come to regret just letting him be free? Which I realize that whole story is a justification for their deviltry. Anyone with the, caw in their Caucasians, Asians, whatever, right? Now, the Asians have been more civil in many different ways, but that whole three body problem narrative follows the fact that they have been beat down into immorality by being conquered by the white folks, who for them, all the centuries, they were like, these guys ain't nothing. And they found out once, the white folks who never stopped warring throughout their history, they didn't want to have to go to China to get all that porcelain and silk. They wanted to find other methods. And then once they found other methods, they were like, well, let's just take over China. And so the Opium Wars got started, right? But before these very disagreeable people ever got to the planet, it was all black. It was all black. And we didn't just stay in Africa. And we were peaceful. We've always been peaceful. Everybody didn't have to worry about us killing the Pacific Ocean so that the whole planet is in danger. See, there's a difference that they want to put out. I even saw them saying that they can't allow Palestine to be free, because then they're going to come after us. They're all going to be Hamas. But Israel supports Hamas. They're like some of the leaders of Hamas, Dr. Shi, let me know, are some of the richest people out there. When you are that wealthy, you don't want to stop. Your whole family is integrated into that status. They no longer know how to survive without having millions and billions of dollars. That's why they're putting out there this whole idea that in order to have a baby these days, you have to be making at least $177,000 a year. I'm like, God damn. What do you qualify as necessary? So you need to be making that daggone much money in order to just have a baby, when all you need is some sperm and an egg. And then after that, you got breast milk. If you don't want to spend money on the Pampers diapers, and I don't blame you for that because it got toxic stuff in them, then just wash them daggone cloth diapers and you're good. You're good. Hey, when they get older, it gets to be a little bit more complicated. There's plenty of people living off the grid, teaching their own children, doing just fine. Just fine. They got their little garden. That's a far better education than anything you're going to get in their lying school system. Right? But we've been so beat up and hit by these people that even though, as Stuart Swerdlow said, after white people who are the most programmable, the least programmable are black, you and me. And so I'm showing this meme here, AI generated, I would imagine, because I want to show when that dude was highlighting his little thing right here, where he's showing his eyes in this very attractive painting of a Black woman from a bygone era, the New Romantics, where it conveys, you see the white men, they're like, can we just get white women to be submissive again? They got that Ben Hinckley, whatever the heck, and they're lambasting him, but they're allowing white men to look like they're the sane ones by making just women wanting to say, hey, we're people, but that's only because it was just the white men treating their women like furniture, right? That wasn't happening with the Aboriginal peoples. And there, the feminism has gone too far. That's what happens with white people. I said at the beginning, they're like a pendulum that never just stays in one place. For them, staying in one place feels like they're not working anymore. And so they swing this way and they swing that way. Feminism just went crazy. Why wouldn't you want to get along with your husband? Why wouldn't you want to cherish him? Why wouldn't you want to see him as a real person who has a pathology that's not yours as a woman? Why would a man want to move into a home and feel like a champion and he's got a second mother up in that house telling him what to do and how to do it? Right? So that's sane. So back to the Boeing thing, which they tried. I've seen they stopped. I don't know how far my voice goes, but I will see changes in their narrative after I point out just the irrationality of what they're saying. There are so many aircraft taking nose dives on top of the 41 people I reported on who got killed in crashes. None of those planes were Boeing. There's still more people dead now because the Widner effect ain't going away and they're never going to talk about it. And so for a brief moment, they tried to blame us when Boeing only has like 6% Black employees. And you think they're in like leadership positions? Heck no. Right? And so this meme right here, I'm not here to talk about Boeing. I'm here to mention, look at the setup. Even if they're depicting two Black women, the one who has anything that remotely looks like it would be her natural hair is shorter, darker, just slightly darker, angrier looking. And then the one who's taller, who's in the more central in the meme, has got, they love to make fun of us for all the weaves and all the rest of it, but that's what they want us to be doing and wearing. And to highlight that visual brainwashing that they just love to do on a constant basis. I had done this share a long time ago for this new channel. I didn't choose for it to be new, but that's a whole nother story. But I was talking about the Chernobyl frogs, and I didn't emphasize it enough because by nature, we don't do this type of like minute programming, but the frogs are backwards according to the way that in Western civilization you're taught to read, or from left to right. That gives you the feeling that this is the sentence, this is the period right here. Drop the bomb, drop the mic, you're done. And they got this, which is supposed to be the frogs are winding up being Black. That's just the melanin that gives you a better chance of withstanding radiation. It doesn't make you immune. Let's emphasize that. But they got it backwards. This is the one that is surviving. This is the one that is going extinct. And so they had to set this up because they can't stand the idea of Black you and me being drop the mic time. That's what I'm saying. These people are creep-toid, Svengalius, hypnotizers. They're the snake. Not just because they got that "don't tread on me" early meme, but because their deeds are snake-like, meant to hypnotize us into believing no white guilt, which just means they're going to get away with whatever hellified evil they've got, and nobody's going to question it. So if he hadn't done this, I wouldn't have talked about him at all. But this isn't for Black women. I'm sure very few Black women would actually be looking at this dude with his dead eyes, even though there might be some. But most of us, nah, I don't think so, even amongst the swirlers. This is for the white men. This is obviously an attractive portrait of a Black woman. And this right here is just subtle programming to say, but she thinks with your mind. She is going to be like you, not like, she's going to be a better dog to you than your dog, because she won't be capable of questioning a thing that you do. That's all she'll see is you. So this creates more hunters. And that's why I'm not talking, when I say they're dumber than they look, I don't mean every white person, whether my personal, conclusions on that are totally different. I'm just saying, for us, I haven't seen the white person who's going to be our rescue. Not a single one on the entire planet. Okay? And so I don't even look for that, because pathologically, they have no reason whatsoever to rescue us based on that 3-body problem. Their 3-body paranoia that we may be really wonderful and nice people, but oh my God, what if one day the Black people, what if they one day just, take over and do to us what we did to them? That's their terror. And so this is meant for the white men to go out and further, because there ain't going to be a million white men marrying Black women. This is so that they could just broaden their scope of the females they are allowed to destroy with their just pendulum, wild swinging mindset. And as I said, Matt wasn't talking about ingesting radium, but once you put the idea out there, and man, was he just coating it on. Oh, the things that they're hiding from us, the ancient remedies that our ancestors used to employ, the radium. He's acting like radium's just sitting out on the dirt easily. No. Radium is naturally occurring in that you could effortlessly, or with limited methods, extract it from uranium ore, but it's part of uranium ore. You have to refine it out, which is what Madame Curie did in the late 1800s. Okay, this is that's the thing is that you just go looking for this stuff and it's easy to find. Madame Curie had said radium is more dangerous than we know, and she found out because she died from it. She died from a blood cancer, and before she died, her assistants died of the same blood cancer. Her fingers, and this is just in this little snippet they did, where she would keep vials. She wasn't drinking the radium, but she would keep vials of it all over the goddamn place. And she kept it in her pockets so that eventually her hands, and this looks all cute. It wouldn't have been cute, because radium is she developed a better X-ray method using radium. When you see the hands of the technicians who were working with the X-ray machines, they were just eating away to crap. So she's got this stuff in her pocket. She's got it all over her home, that's where she had her lab. The home is still off limits to the public because it's radioactive. The radium girls that dude and the other ones were making fun of, saying, oh, they exaggerated what happened to the radium girls. Their corpses are in lead-lined coffins because they don't want the radiation to affect anybody. Now you got, I mean, damn, I can't show you the photo of Evan Byers, but I'm going to leave a link right at the top. I implore you to go look at Evan Byers if you have a strong stomach. If you're sensitive, don't look. Okay? Because this dude, from drinking radium water, his jaw literally fell off. His whole jaw and portions of his upper jaw, all the way, all of this right here, it was gone. It was just his neck there, and barely was his neck there. One of the things that someone who interviewed him for an article said, he was standing there sitting in his palatial home because Eben was rich. He was rich. And in white society, all they give a damn about is the rich people, because that's who controls everything. And so during the interview, they were sitting in this like friggin' palatial estate, and the interviewer wrote that it was such a contrast between the worst horror he had ever seen in his life and this gorgeous estate, sumptuous estate. Hey? The only reason the Radium Girls got any traction in their horror whatsoever was because of Eben Byers, right? And yeah, they had radium in all sorts of things. That's one of the things that in this other Telegram post, and that's why I wanted to also talk about this, because he's recommending that drinking it is a wonderful thing. Radium butter, they put it in so many different types of products, and they wouldn't care, especially back then. They would not give a hoot about who was hurting until it hurt Eben Byers. Then all of a sudden it made a difference. And the horrifying result of it, go click on that link, was undeniable. And that's what happened. Was he had an injury. He was a champion golfer, and he had an injury to his arm. He was riding on a train and he fell, and he injured his arm, and that's what mattered to him in life. He also ran his father's company, but at the same time, the only thing, a lot of these people, they're miserable because their lives are trivial. They're all about protecting their fiefdom from the three-body problem. Right? Now, there's more to the three-body problem, but I'm not here to go over that. Plus, I am not going to watch the movie. I'm not going to watch anything that's just about, well, everything's horrible. Everybody's horrible, so you might as well give up. That's the same thing as, there's a population explosion, so they could justify genocide. Right? There's no overpopulation of butterflies. When it reaches a saturation point, then there'll be a problem. But have you noticed all the butterflies dying now? King Charles sure has. Okay, with his endangered monarch about to land on the soldier of Vlad the Impaler himself. Okay, and so yeah, he was drinking Radithor, and he had so much money he could just like down that sucker on a constant basis. So when he went out, suddenly, that's the only time they gave the radium dial painters any notice whatsoever. And so here, there's so many documents published by the US government and other governments going over Pacific Northwest Laboratory, operated for the US Department of Energy, the DOE. Okay? There's so much stuff where they know exactly what the hell this stuff does. And so they know that radium is a radioactive chemical element, the heaviest of the alkaline earth metals. That means that you can find it in the earth, right? But radium is a silvery white metal that does not occur free in nature. You got to get it from the uranium. And in this document right here, or the one I showed last time, there's all different ones, but I think in this one, because this one is 1,972 freaking pages long, it goes over the history of radiation as far as white people fiddling around with it, right? It's like, whoa, it goes over Madame Curie and her separating radium and thorium out of uranium ore, where she found something that just, it glowed. She was like, wow, right? She didn't know what the hell she was looking at. It's energy. They all get into that energy. But this is not, just like with three-body problem, that's like a linear argument, but you're not taking into account the dimensionality of truth. We would have never destroyed the Pacific Ocean. I remember I used to listen to this amazing financial advisor. He was Richard Martin, really, really good. I stopped listening to him when I sent him an email because he was talking about how, all things fall apart. We got someone who wrote that too, because we got Black people who fall for that nonsense themselves, right? Where he's like, if you've got sand all piled up, after a certain amount of time, the sand's just going to fall apart. And I said to him, sand doesn't have a mind. Sand doesn't have morality. Sand can't make deliberate choices. When they try to convince us that there's no hope, they are trying to cowify you. And so you think they have the last word. Evil has the last word. No, the truth has the last word. We would never have done any of this. Even still today, when there are any conflicts in Africa, you look for the bloody hand of the white folks after that. Like they had something going on with the Congo. Dude was married to a white woman. His son wasn't really Black, right? Malanga, something I think his name was. Originally, they said it was CIA. And then they changed it because they wanted the white guy to look like, oh, he's just a high school student. Excuse me, MK Ultra, did I mention that they use children in their programming? Stuart Swerdlow even. Okay. And so all of this stuff, they know this stuff. They know it. You have to, it's not that this is an even playing field. They stack the deck with evil. They don't stack it with the truth. They stack it so that they can pretend their lies are superior. Ain't nothing superior about the liar or his lies. The Creator made the universe with truth. If the lie were superior, that's what he would have used. But you get no agreement from even the elements of the earth with nonsense, with fabrications, with wrongdoing. So even with the white people, they don't want to die. I don't want to hurt nobody. But I'm just saying, who's hurting them? It ain't Black, you and me. They'll find little operatives like the Congo guy, right? They'll find little operatives out there who are Black-like to do their bidding. And for just what? How much you got to pay somebody to say whatever nonsense on social media? And they also have the whole thing set up so the worst of the worst get promoted. So you got a guy like Cameron going on CNN of all places. Why would you go on CNN? Why would CNN want you? And then he says some nonsense because they want them orgies. They need every little last remaining bit of energy that is useless and bad, like radium, so that they could distract us and we won't notice that nobody wants to die of cancer. Nobody wants to feel that pain and that agony. I don't care how many cute photos they take and they put it in Daily Mail. She was so happy to marry the love of her life 5 seconds before she died of breast cancer. That's not cute, right? They have that old story about Camille. She was so beautiful and pale that they started putting arsenic in their cosmetics so that they could get real close to death's door and be so pale. As I said, these people are easily programmed, right? And so with this thing right here, 1,900, almost 2,000 pages going over all the details of, oh yeah, there goes the saga of the uranium miners. Like they don't know. And this is before they refine it into something they could use in the nuclear reactors. The transuranic, transplutonic isotopes, they call them actinides. Those suckers are even more destructive than the uranium ore, and you can't be building nothing up above a deposit of uranium ore because it's going to emit radon gas. That's what comes directly from the radium that is sequestered inside of it because of the uranium 230. There's so many numbers, 238 or 236, 235 maybe. One of them is so heavy that it keeps all the other ones in check as far as the release of their energy. So just the radon gas pretty much comes off. But I'll be damned if anybody I know would want to, well, you want to build a house right over this uranium? And that's what these dudes on Telegram are promoting. Oh, you know how many deposits of radium there are? Liars. There are no deposits of radium anywhere. There's only uranium ore, which would be perfect for the nuclear industry to get its, oh yeah, you could take the radium. We just want the uranium ore that's left after you get out the radium. That's a very easy process, right? So I'm just saying that these people are going to come. They set the black men up long before they set you and me up. Sisters, I mean, right? And so I'm learning from the brothers who just were like, whatever, white man, whatever. Who did what they needed to do, took care of their families, loved and protected their communities, like the STEP program, where, oh, those brothers, they're still there every Friday, guiding the youth to righteous behavior. They deal with the stereotypes coming from these dudes. And that's what we sisters have to do. Because they're very much trying to stereotype us. So we are even more easy to hunt. We've been so loyal to the black man. I adore that. The women with the highest miscegenation rate is still not black, you and me. It's Asian women, right? But they got black, oh, brother, Chris Miller of Mad Black TV, sorry, my light just went out, did an amazingly excellent share going over the YouTube goofies, internet goofies out there who are trying to say that Sexy Red, who is a Satanist, is the pinnacle of Black culture. So there is no such thing. Once again, the stereotyping of the Black woman, when most sisters are like me. If I didn't do any of this, then most sisters are just living their life, doing the work that they need to do, trying their best, because nobody wants to have children and they grow up to be absolute monsters. The way that they wind up catching us is because as a Black woman, you have this baby and you don't realize your nature is different than a man's. So you're going to get exhausted sometimes. And then you're going to get overly emotional. And your son is taking that all in because he's got a soldier's mind. And he wants to imitate and be exactly like the person who's informing him on what life's supposed to be. So that's why you have so many emotional men out here who don't, if you got an enemy like this devil that we have, and you are emotional, that's why they got all these different celebrities out here, Black male celebrities, who will cry at the drop of a hat. You can't be doing that on a battlefield. Woo, it's hot, okay? You can't be doing that on a battlefield. And I'm not even talking about, the physical battlefield. This mental one is a heck of a lot wilder. It's talking some, very few, okay? Because we're not as programmable, talking some few into thinking that they want to be with the same sex. Or even worse, that they are the opposite sex. Okay? That's not natural to Black people. So, as a woman, we need a man. We need a man, but we need that I'm a human being, not a pendulum type of mindset that is natural to Black us, with our rooted melanin guided physiology. It's easier for us to recognize when something makes no damn sense whatsoever. But they're working on Black women because of our emotionality, and we have a desire to want to be respected by people who obviously can't stand us no matter what we do. They're about manipulating us. So when you have that rootedness coming from the Black man, it helps you to stay calmer. Or he just sort of comes in and says, Queen, I got this. And then he works on whatever issues are going on with the little junior, and hopefully you got lots of babies. Okay? Be plentiful, multiply. Okay? I'm just saying, it is what it is. The Most High, the one and only. Woo! He was precise in all his commandments and all of his guidance. All right? All right. I know there's some things in there, the different books that people, but I'm just saying, when you go through those books, you know, this is exactly the world, the last days that we're facing right now. And unless you want to be stuck with them guys for eternity in the nothingness, bow down and rejoice because we've won. Straight Black pride is our map to forever. Go to 25,000yearcycle.org and get your heal on, okay? All right. I love you. Peace and blessings.